What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. KG is back with another stream. Good to do two yesterday, man. The one last night was so chill. Like, it's good to do them at that time for some reason. I don't know why. I think everyone's just relaxed. Everyone's cool. Obviously, we got a lot of good news. And for me, even more better news today with our chairman coming out, Paraag Marathe. Going to say his name properly. Marathe is his name. So I will make sure I try and remember that. But I'll go with Paraag. But listen, for me, I'm just going to say this now off the bat, just so we don't have to keep on repeating it. I know words are just words, and it's about actions, and I'm big on that. You've got to show me. But what he said today, he said a lot of things that I say. So for me, if he carries on that path where what he was saying today, I'm going to be very happy. And Leeds United fans that want success and aren't just passion merchants will be happy too. So for me, I heard a lot of good stuff. If you're in the live chat now, your comments after, give me some of your things that you liked him to say today, what you heard him say today, I should say, and we'll talk about it. Kevin here, evening KG. You're not tempted to get the super malt now? I know in past streams you said no because it's a lit premium drink for the Premier League. Nah, no. I can't do that, man. Until we get back to the Prem, no more super malt streams, man. The job's not done. The job's not done, Kevin. So no. But what I do have is a very underrated Monster white pineapple. This thing is gorgeous, man. So nice. So nice. Yeah, man, I'm back, Bubba. I'm back. Nathan here saying was good hearing that off Paraag today. Yeah, it was a really good interview today. And there was a few subtle shots taken. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember him saying one time that the aim this season is promotion, but he said it in every other way besides actually saying it. It's like a smart business move, isn't it? He said everything in regards to doing everything that we can to get straight back to the Premier League. He called it a speed bump this championship year. And to me, a speed bump is one, isn't it? It's not 1, 2, 3 years. So unless I missed him saying that promotion is the target this season, I think he stopped short of saying that. But everything else that he said led you to believe that that is the main aim this season. Arson here saying, I got the impression he wants to keep Adams, as he mentions Tyler Adams shirts in San Francisco Bay. Yeah, listen. Oh yeah, God, of course. Housekeeping, sorry. Shout out to David Roberts, Mr. P, John Abbott, and Karen Curtin for the super thanks on the last video. Much appreciated for the donations, people. But yeah, listen, he mentioned Tyler Adams and people inbox me on Insta with that one. I don't know what he means by that. I can only assume that it just means that he's going to do everything in his power. I mean, he was asked that question, wasn't he? Are we going to get to keep certain players? And he says we're going to try our best, and that's all he can do. That's all he can do. We don't have the strength of hand here. We don't, especially with those with release clauses. But he's going to try, and that's all you can ask. Famous E, I thought this one would come up. I liked how he gave a sly dig to Rads and co-chairman should keep quiet, and he did. And he's correct, though. He's 100% correct. Listen, just going by my other sports team, Pittsburgh Penguins, I never heard before FSG took Penguins over. I never heard the chairman or Mario Lemieux come out and talk. Never. You never heard them. It was always down to the manager. It was always down to the GM. These are the only people that ever talk. And the owners just stay in the background, sign the checks, give the yay, the nay to whatever trade proposals it was. They stay in the background. And he's right. The chairman shouldn't be at the forefront, and he's not looking to do that. And on that as well, I just want to make sure everyone else likes that, and I'm glad that people like it. But just remember that if we ever go on a 4-match losing streak, don't expect him to come out and say anything, because we can't have it both ways. I always say this to people: you can't have things both ways, and you can't have it that you want him to stay in the background, but once it gets a little sticky, you want him to come out and just say something. You know what I mean? So I'm with that 100%. Paul here, Paraag spoke with confidence and passion. Impressive, super impressive. Listen, he could have told me where he was Brixton, and I'd have believed him. He was that impressive to me. He could have told me he was in Brixton. He could have told me he was in the ends, and I would have believed him, because he was that good today. And he says that it's going to be one of very few interviews just because the deal has been wrapped up now. And that's the way it should be. That is the way it should be. Lee's lead saying, sounds like Tyler, Cine, Nanto, and Verba might actually stay. Yeah, I mean, listen, we won't know. Unfortunately, Until that transfer window is shut, we will not know, because we could go through until the transfer deadline day, and all of a sudden, one of those big clubs who are desperate, maybe they haven't got off to a hot start, maybe they've got an injury that they need to replace. If they come in with enough money for one of our players, it's likely that they may go. So we have to just be on guard for that, because even if someone declares they're going to stay with all the best intentions, if an offer is good enough, they will leave. So, but hopefully, once that window's shut, we do get to keep a nucleus of our better players, and that is something. Another theme throughout this interview was winning. Music to my ears, people. Had enough of not winning. I actually want to win. I'm a winner in life. I want to do the best that I can. And he sounds like the exact same kind of person, where he mentioned about not being a second, third generation chairman. Listen, if you want to hear the whole thing, it's on Leeds United's channel. I'm sure. I mean, you'll get a lot out of it. You really will. But he mentioned about this not being a game to him, that he takes this very seriously. He wants to win. He's not in it just to, he's obviously in it to make money, but he wants to win achievements. He wants for teams to carry out achievements. Music to my ears, people. John here saying, I like the comment you made about us being an uncut diamond. He did, yeah. He mentioned that. He also mentioned about the Premier League thing, something that I've said as well about the Premier League, is better off with Leeds United, because it is. Listen, it sounds so biased, but I promise you, I'm not being biased when I say this, because I say it about other clubs as well. I've said it about Forest before. I even say it kind of about Sheffield Wednesday. If you could get the Sheffield clubs back in the Premier League at the same time, it would be good for business. It's there's just certain clubs where you just look at them and you go, yeah, this is Premier League. This is big time. You currently got Luton at the minute that are struggling to put games on because their ground's not ready. That doesn't happen with Leeds United in the Premier. It just wouldn't happen. And we've got rivalries throughout the league, even though we haven't held up our end of the bargain in our second run in the Prem. But they're there. Chelsea fans still talk about us. Listen, there's so much there, but you've got to act like a big club. There's no point being a big club but not acting like it. There's no point. So, and it sounds like he gets that. Love the thing as well. Other things, maybe you took it a shade as well. I love the thing about him saying when he was making notes. He was making notes of stuff. Oh, Jed, you're right here. Thank you, Jed. Making notes of the last few years of not what to do. He is hoping he follows through. Now, that's all we can do with the hope with that. But I said that. I said he must have been taking notes and realized what he cannot do at this football club, or what he shouldn't do. And he also made that comment as well about not having to bite his lip and not being in control of the plane. And obviously the plane has spiraled into the Championship. But there was just so much there, because it just seems to me that, and he mentioned as well, this is the other thing that I've got to put out there. I want to hire the best people for the job. I will hire the best people, but if they're not working out, we'll get somebody else that's better. Love it. It right here, man. That is what I want to hear. I don't want to hear jobs for the boys. I don't want to hear just because you've got a long-standing relationship with somebody. If it isn't working, you've got to make movements. You've got to make improvements, and that is what he sounds like he's going to do. Listen, it sounds like he's going to raise the bar like a bench press at this football club, and it's about time. And he kind of alluded to that as well, in that the expectations for this football club have kind of diminished over the last couple of years. I see it in my comments. I already can see the level of where fans think that we should be, or the kind of players that we should be going for. It's on the floor, people. So I'm glad that he's here, and I'm so interested to see after Ampadu is confirmed, who else we're going to get in. Ryan here, yeah. I mean, Norwich fans didn't like this one, but yeah, saying Farke wasn't back properly in the Prem either. Yeah, and listen, I'm giving Daniel Farke a look. It didn't work out for him in the Prem for a myriad of reasons, and we'll go into coaching in a bit as well, because we'll touch on Andrea Radrizzani's comments in the middle of the show. But he was saying that if Farke is the man to take us up, he will be backed in the Premier League. And listen, as a head coach, that's all he could ask for. Again, something else that I said on here about Daniel Farke, it was a two-way interview. He made that very clear, that it wasn't just them interviewing Daniel Farke. Farke wanted to know a few things as well, especially with the takeover not ratified. He needed to know a few things. He doesn't know who's going to be here, who's not. It was a two-way interview, and I think that is really good. And that's why I feel like Daniel Farke will get a say on the transfers. Mick, let's put the United back in Leeds. I try as well, Mick. If you know, if it's something very subtle, people, and I don't think many people will notice, but I always just try. And whenever I put in the title Leeds, you will always say United after it. You will always see it. It's something very subtle, but it's just to get. We need to claim that back, people. Well, I don't like when people just say United and talk about Man United. I don't like that, people. I don't like it. So that's why whenever I can, if I can ever fit it in, if I've got the room, I will always put Leeds United. Wherever I put Leeds, there will always be United after us. And that's what we've got to do, people. Um, Allison saying behind the scenes was a League One mentality. Got to get rid of some of them, bring it on. 100%, Allison. And that's the most disappointing thing about the relegation. It could have been easily prevented. And again, we'll go into Andrea Radrizzani's comments. Maybe we can just mix it in on the stream, but it was so avoidable. And when I was talking, let's just mix it in. When I was talking about this a couple years ago when we finished ninth, and so many people left because they said I didn't know what I was talking about. I was being harsh. How can you get rid of Bamford when he scored 17 goals? When I was saying about cashing in on these players, and this is when Bamford was being linked with Arsenal Spurs for around 40, 50, I said, you've got to take that money, reinvest it in the team. You've got to start getting rid of players like Click. You've got to start getting rid of players like this and that. Andrea Radrizzani, we was never going to know until he left, but he said as much today that Bielsa, I think we've kind of heard this before though, that Bielsa said, you need to either replace me or the whole team. Now, see, this is it for me. I've said so many times, people, no matter how much people want to think I'm against Bielsa, I'm not. But you can play Bielsa's system, but you need the players in place. You can play any system in football as long as you've got the correct players. And that is basically what Bielsa was saying. And even he could see the limitations of these players once the running was going to stop, was going to end. And I just find it very interesting now because for all the people that back these bums game after game, no matter what, no matter how badly they've played, we're back in the championship because of a lot of them. And some of these people love Bielsa probably more than the players. I wonder how they're feeling with their conflicted views with that now, because these players, he wanted them gone, and I'm happy to hear it. I'm really happy to hear that because you just didn't know if he was being too loyal at times, or or if he just felt like he some of the players that he had were better than what he anticipated or were going to be. And I'm just glad to hear that he was on the same page as me. So this is what I'm saying here. First they call you crazy, then they understand. You know what I'm saying? No, listen, it's all opinions at the end of the day. But I saw this coming a mile off. I said this a couple of years ago. People just disappeared in their droves as well. It's so funny. So funny to me. I don't want those people back, by the way, because I don't want passion merchants here. I want people that can see the bigger picture in football and what you need. But yeah, yeah, Gavin, what's that saying, KG? You can't polish a turd. But he did, he put some lipstick on it for a while, but the lipstick fell off. And even he could see that. But what I will say on this, and this again, you can't rewrite history. You just can't. The proof is there. These are facts. This isn't opinions. These aren't theories. This is what happened. He could have coached better, as in like he could have made adjustments. It was one way or no way. He didn't let off in training. He kept playing the same way against every team. I had rival fans mocking me like, why do you guys turn up to our ground and play like that? I'm just like, I don't, I'm like, what can I say? And you could see it, and listen, you can go back to that season where he got sacked. Go back to that season and watch the games. They were before the games, these coaches were being so complimentary of Bielsa, so complimentary of the way Leeds played, because they knew they were going to get some joy. They weren't doing it out of respect. They were doing it because they were like, we can get some of our form players back in form here because there will be space. I'll never forget some of those games, and I always go back to that Arsenal one. That was just one example of where players were literally pulling our centre backs to the halfway line and saying, "Stay there because we've got the centre back here," and people just running through and scoring. You can do that. That's your job as a coach. No matter what the tools you've got, you can set up a bit better, and that's a bit with Daniel Farker as well at Norwich. He may not have had the tools, but he was going into games thinking that they could play open, expansive football with the squad they had. That's what you have to learn as a coach, though. But we always knew with Bielsa, he was stubborn in that way, and he was going to live and die on that sword, and he died on it in the end. You know what I mean? But I said at the time, I would have happily kept Bielsa, but you had to get a better player. When I was talking about Coop Miners and all these guys, it just you know what I mean? It just fell on deaf ears. But um, Lewis here saying also hope for that Farker learn lessons from past errors. That's all you can hope for. That's what you hope, that managers take accountability. And this is another thing. Going back to Parag, it sounds like he knows he's going to make mistakes. That is going to happen. He's not going to hit a home run on every decision made. It's just impossible. But it sounds like he's going to be accountable, and if he can rectify that mistake, he will do so. Um, But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to touch on the Radrizzani thing. You also mentioned about trusting Victor Orta implicitly. He wishes, he regrets doing so in terms of the players that he just signed off on, like the guys from Austria and everyone else like that. Um, and I guess Radrizzani now is Sampdoria. I think he will learn from that. I don't think he's going to go into another situation with another director of football and just allow that guy to make every single decision. I don't think he's going to do that again. It's just a shame that the learning moments had to happen at this football club. But some of the things he said in there were just not surprising to me. The kind of things that I assumed he would have learned from his time at Leeds United. Um, but yeah, it is what it is with Andrea. I just want to close the chapter on that now, because we shouldn't really hear from Andrea again. We shouldn't be hearing about Bielsa again in terms of that kind of thing. And now it's about the 49ers, it's about Farker, it's about the speed bump, which is called the championship. And we'll see where we go from there. We'll see where we go from there. But this stream we can talk about, of course. Richard here saying Bielsa needed to change his tactics, but didn't. That was his downfall. Richard, sometimes it was something so simple. And I remember the game in question. This was at the time when Newcastle hadn't won an away game all season. They were in the bottom three with us, or around with us at the time. And all we had to do, seriously, all we had to do with the way that we played football, because Newcastle weren't scoring goals, all we had to do was put Gelhardt up front, give us a striker up front, and I think we would have had a chance of beating them. I genuinely believe that as well. We didn't do that. I think we went with Dan James again up front, and we lost the game. We were the ones that gave Newcastle their first win, and that was a common theme throughout. That's why I'm saying you can try and look back at things with rose-colored glasses all you want. The proof is there. Go and watch a season review of our year, and or even just go through some match reactions, and you'll hear the same kind of themes over and over again. You know what I mean? There was things that he could have adjusted, man. And I said it at the time in that January. I wish he would just adjust something, please. The players were on their knees; they couldn't do the murder ball anymore. Just make an adjustment, but he's a stubborn man. And listen, it's successful for him at times, but at that time, it wasn't going to be, especially with that group of players. Gavin here saying Rad seems to be throwing everyone else under the bus. I'm not taking no responsibility. Um, yeah, I think what I got from it, that he did take responsibility in it. He was saying about Victor Orta, but then he also did say, but that is on me as well. I could have done something more. In the end, I'm the one that did sign off on the signings and everything else like that. I I think that I think that in terms of accountability, I just wish that he did it at the time. And I bet he does as well. Like someone said, it's gone up there, but 300 million, he lost so much money on this deal. He lost so much money. He could have got so much more money and then dipped off to Sampdoria, probably done an even better job there to get them out of Serie B. But he's gone with this. Listen, he's not going to be crying on the streets, with a cup full of change. You know what I mean? He's all right. But yeah, those mistakes, I think that if he could have rectified them at the time, if you could do a do-over, I think he would. And this is it. Yeah, Leeds Rads was spineless, needed to be ruthless and get rid of Orta a long time ago. Yeah, as well as many of the players too. That's how we got into the position of letting players go who had some value to them, because we kept them for too long. In fact, we still got some of them now. So yeah, definitely spineless. I would say naive too, in thinking that we could just run the whole thing back again with Bielsa and the same players. Very naive. Um, let's have a look. Yeah, he did. He wanted to get rid of Marsh. that was a couple of decisions that in that season what he didn't follow through with because of the trust that he had with Victor Orta, and Victor Orta obviously was not going to want to get rid of Jesse Marsh. And the other one was of obviously the Jack Harrison sale. He wanted to sell Jack Harrison. He got vetoed, and we've kept Jack Harrison, and now we're waiting to see which Premier League club decide to take him. Probably for less than 25 we would have got for him in January. So we'll see, won't we? We'll see. Uh, Nigel saying the time's running out for the old guard. Unless Farker really wants any of them to stay, they're gone. Yeah, they're gone. All their roles will be reduced. I would have to believe, and that's why I've been bringing up the people like Marco Royce, Harry Maguire, who both have to let go of the captaincy. It's time for a new. It's time for a fresh outlook. It's time for new leadership, not a leadership council. It's time for a new captain, new vice captain to get this club moving forward for me. And just that's my opinion. Uh, Gary here saying Bielsa was a flawed genius, but still love what he did to get back to the Prem. Now it's Farker ball, and let's see where that takes us. Yeah, 100%. And this is the funny thing, because I actually say what Bielsa did. This isn't opinion. This is what happened. The results are there. They're all there in black and white. But people think that I didn't like Bielsa. Bielsa was so special in that time, but you just knew with that kind of football there is a limit to it. It's so obvious. It shouldn't take a scientist to work it out either. And you could see most of those players were not technically gifted, and we've seen that this season. Boy, oh boy, we see it this season how they can't even pass three passes in a row. They're just not football players in that way. And you know what I mean? But you're right. Everything in terms of, apart from the first season where we didn't go back up, but even then for me, I wasn't thinking about anything else once we lost that semi-final against Derby, except for I hope we keep Bielsa, because if we keep Bielsa, we will go up next season. I've got no doubts about it. And we did. You know what I mean? It's one of those, but it is what it is. That's what I'm trying to say. It's an old chapter now. Hopefully, we can put this thing to bed now. Now Radrizzani's gone. He's had his exit interview. I don't think that we'll be hearing anything else about Bielsa now, but we'll see. We'll see, won't we? Um, Ryan here saying, imagine Bielsa in charge of Man City. That's the difference. Um, yeah, the only thing I would go with that, Ryan, is that he hasn't, and this is words from him as well. He hasn't managed any of those kind of teams, has he? He's never managed the tippy top, and there's probably reasons for that. There's probably reasons for that. He was never going to get everything. I mean, when he first came, I don't know if everyone remembers, but when he first came, if he wanted something painted purple, it would have been painted purple. If he needed the pitch a bit more wider, it would have been wider. He was very demanding, and I don't think you can go to a Man City and demand that. I don't think you can run those kind of players through the rigor that he put these players through. These players were grateful for it because their careers were, they were either going to be a mid-table players or going back into League One. Quite frankly, let's be real here. Um, but he gave them the chance to be Premier League footballers. Look what he did for Calvin Phillips. Look what he did for Patrick Bamford. You know what I mean? Who else is getting Patrick Bamford an England cap? There's a few players, and a few players that quit on him too, which is in that group. They should be ashamed of themselves, but it is what it is. We'll see. I hope he does well. I wish nothing but ill will, but it's just the Bielsa lovers, man, that get me. He's like, he could never do anything wrong, and it's like the proof is there. He did, but it is what it is. Paul saying 6-0, 7-0, 5-1, 4-2, 4-0, 4-1. Beatings. It was bad at the back end with Marcelo. Yes, against top teams that needed to adapt. Yeah, and there was also a 3-0 against fellow relegation strugglers Everton in there as well, Paul. And that's what I'm trying to say. It wasn't just against the top teams we got beat. We got beat in games where we should have been more competitive, and it was because of our style of play and the players that we had. But yeah, and yeah, Leeds, this is another fact, because I don't think, as much as I love Pep, as much as I love Jose, they're not doing what they did with those players that we had in the champ. That's what a real like hands-on coach does, and that is what Bielsa is. Well, he is, because he's still coaching 100%. That's what I mean. I don't take away any of those things. I don't take anything away. It's just that once that way does stop working, boy oh boy, it stops working with a vengeance. Um, but yeah, Yeah, you do. You have to laugh, but that's how it is, isn't it? Some people just they forget. They forget, Jack. They forget. But yeah, listen, Parag. Let me just see if there's anything else because I'm sure there's something. Yeah, I mean, when he said I'm feeling inspired, I mean, this was early in the interview. I felt inspired. I felt like, whoa, what are we gonna do this season? I feel like we're gonna do some real chefing this season. I feel like we're gonna do some sauteing this season. I feel good. But yeah, he was, he just comes across with this enthusiastic nature, which makes you believe that we are going to be in for an exciting ride. And I know it's the championship, so it's got its limits to how high we can go, but it feels like we're going to be on full on for a promotion push this season. That's the feeling I got anyway. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you disagree. Mr. P here, big support of the channel. Thank you, Mr. P. Evening, KG. I like the way Parag speaks. The 49ers will need time, but I'm excited to see where the journey takes us. Yeah, me too. Me too, 100%. Lewis saying, I'm ready for the silky smooth Farker voice post-match interviews. Yeah, hopefully after wins, Lewis, because you know how some things sound differently when you're losing to when you're winning. Bit, Jesse Marsh probably. I mean, we only won like what 5 games with him. I don't know, right? Yeah. Um, Zach, Zach here saying, did Bielsa believe in the players? I think it came out he wanted to overhaul the squad and it was denied. I mean, yeah, I mean, I've said that, yeah, but he believed in them to a certain extent. But that's when you border on sentiment. If you just think that you can just keep running back the same squad that haven't got the quality, he saw it. He knew what he had to do, but it's always easier to get rid of one manager than it is to replace a whole squad of players. That's just football, isn't it? And they thought they could just get one more year out of him. They thought they had one more in them. They didn't have it. Uh, Alfie here saying, evening KG, feels so good knowing we've got professionals running the club now. The future is exciting. Yeah, that's the other thing that came across. Alfie makes a great point there. Didn't it feel so professional the way he was talking? There was no, there was no you know, big statements in terms of, well, we want to get promoted this year, and then next year in the Premier League, we hope to get the top six, like we've heard previously. He just made everything as ambitious as possible, but without setting unrealistic targets. And for me, I dig that. I dig that at this stage. Um Lee's easily show us the money now. Yeah, listen, it's quite interesting with I'm sure you guys have seen this already, but let me just get this up. This Michael Schwimmer, who's part of the big league something, what CEO of Big League Advantage, yeah. There's various sports people here that are invested in Leeds United, and he obviously says as well there's other athletes that are named that are in the group but prefer to remain nameless. And you can imagine that as well. There's a couple of ice hockey players in there as well. From ice hockey people that watch this channel, who would have ever thought that Eric Johnson and Gabe Landeskog would be part of Leeds United? You just know it. These things you just never compute. Do it. You just never think that would happen. But yeah, I mean, there's various sports people, and you have to believe as well, because you've seen the net worth and everything else like that. The richest people are the ones that never get named. Those rich people that only ever leave their house to take a jet to a private island. There's obviously those kind of investors in there too, but it's quite interesting with all the sports people and celebrities that are involved in this consortium. Oh no, let's have a look. Gavin here saying, "I'm really." I think he means pumped, right? Gavin, I don't think you mean that one, do you? I'm really pumped the way he comes across. It's a positive sign, and it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks. Yeah, listen, what is it? We've got. I was hoping to do this as late as possible because I thought we might have Ampadu in the door by now, but he's probably just done his. I think he's done his medicals now. He has done his medicals now. According to Fabrizio, and this was early this morning. Medical test done as new Leeds United player. £7 million move, personal terms agreed. It's all good. Chelsea have got a sell-on clause. You know what's really interesting, though, people? Um, Chelsea fans today, because they've lost Badashili and more so Wesley Fofana, who's out again with another ACL injury. Man, that guy has been cracked. I don't know if he's going to get a full career. Wesley Fofana, he's out again with another cruise ship. They were saying that they want to stop the deal. Can Chelsea stop the deal and everything else like that? Because there's a lot of Chelsea fans. I was quite surprised um, looking at the Chelsea tag with Ethan Ampadu and just seeing how many people want him to have a chance. And you're talking about Chelsea in the Premier League here, that they want to see at least have a chance, especially now with all the injuries they've got. Obviously, it's too late now. He's going to be our player, but yeah, it's a real. It was real interesting because you think with Chelsea that they'd be after some of the bigger, better players, but some of them really wanted to see what Ethan Ampadu could do at Chelsea. Really, really interesting. Jacob here saying, if his actions match his words, the future is bright. Yeah, listen, I said it at the start. Words are words. You need to see it with actions. And listen, I hope everyone in their positions now, even Steinson, I think his name is, that's been confirmed today by Leeds United. That's on their Twitter feed and the website now. He's in there as one of the directors of football or technical directors. I hope everyone does their jobs correctly, and we don't even have to, see if Parag is, you know, up to his word. I hope that we don't have to make any changes. But in the event that it doesn't go right, or there are a few signings that haven't worked out, then yeah, you would hope that he is a man of his word and will say, "Sorry, it's not working out. We need to get someone else in." But only time will tell with that kind of thing, and that's something that Radrizzani didn't do, did he? He didn't go through transfers both in and out after the season and go, well, these worked, these didn't work. We might have to, talk about your position at the football club in terms of Victor Orta. He never did that. He mentioned it one time very loosely in an interview. He never did that because if he did it, then Victor Orta wouldn't be here. Especially after the JKA stuff. I mean, that would be enough to get anyone sacked on the spot. You've literally paid out 40 something million for an asset that you got played for less than 90 minutes. It's an incredible mess up. Righteous one here saying, I swear I remember Ampadu busted some games on match of the day when he was at Sheffield United. No, yeah, listen, he wasn't bad. He was still kind of young. Obviously, he was very young then, but he wasn't a bad player. It was just one of those teams where they just couldn't score goals. And there's another thing as well that I was reminded of today. Even though he's a young guy, he's very, very vocal at the back. You're going to see that. He's going to probably play more defensive midfield for us. We'll talk about him more in the signing video because obviously it's not happening right now. But he's very vocal from the back, which I think will surprise quite a few people because he's very young, but he's not scared to tell senior players where they need to be as well. Much like Tyler Adams, even though Tyler Adams is just a little bit older. But yeah, it's an interesting one. So we're looking for more leaders on the pitch. Uh, Gavin saying, KG, did you read it the same way as me that Nick Hammond will also stay on? I think he's still temporary, isn't he? I think that's a temporary contract. I don't think that's a permanent one. I think they're going to be looking for a more permanent director of football in that sense. But listen, we'll go with what we've got right now. I think that the plan was always to look for a permanent one in October once this window's shut. I think they want someone to come in once the window's shut, and then they can have a fresh look at it from January onwards. I think that's the plan anyway. Liam B saying, great stream, KG. Thanks for all your content. Leeds forever marching on together. Thank you, Liam. Much appreciated. I hope everyone has hit the like button. I don't think I asked at the start of the stream, but yeah, please hit the like on the video. Best way to help the channel out. Appy here saying, all looking squeaky clean at the moment. Business and tasks being ticked off day by day. Confused at what football team I support at the moment. Things are functioning. Yeah. It's about time, isn't it? It's about time. Listen, time will tell, but it just, for me, you have to go with your initial gut feeling. And if I sit on the fence, then what's the point? Yeah, I just feel like we're going to get something good from this group, from this 49ers Enterprises. I've only heard good things about this group. They're obviously all in to invest and get the best out of their assets. And the best thing for this asset that they've got in Leeds United is to be in the Premier League. And he said as much as well. And like this being a speed bump, I'm with that. I've said to you, 1 year loan in the Championship. And I think Parag is looking at it that way, but he just doesn't want to say it out loud. Anto here, just on if said already. Sorry, but I like the way he talks about jobs. He will do his, but he expects everyone else to do the same. Yeah, he's. I don't think I touched on that too much, but yeah, he's going to have people in place, but he wants to be very. He's very mindful. And his ethos is to let people get on with their own jobs and not interfere. That was kind of his comment before he talked about chairman not speaking too much. But yeah, he's very much, if I've hired you for this, I expect you to be the best in that position. And that's great. That is what we need. That is what we've needed for a while, instead of having one man just running amok in the end, isn't it? Running amok. Uh, Skip here saying, agree, good feeling now around Leeds, but they still need to do a lot more before the window shuts. Time will tell. Yeah, there's a lot of work to do. He knows that. He knows there's a lot of work to do, and I think they're gonna be. I think they're gonna be busy doing it. What we saying now? What we on? Always lose track of days, people. Tuesday, Ampadu. Would it be crazy to suggest that maybe there'll be another two this week? How does that sound? I feel like there could be another two this week. Robbie here saying it feels like the standards are being raised. It's about time, Robbie, man. It's about time. I feel like I've been on my own trying to raise the standards here, because everyone else's standards, it just seems to be on the floor, man. Like, just people just happy with some subpar players. Oh, Forshaw was the best. What are we talking about here? This is Leeds United Football Club, man. Like, what is Forshaw doing at the minute? He's free. He's free, and apparently he was one of our better players in the league in the last few games of the season. Cool. He's free. Where is he going at this point? We need to be more serious as a football club and demand better, because this is what has got us back into this position, by accepting mediocrity and bigging up players after two half games and then rewarding them with new contracts. I hope that will be over as well in the 49ers era. I think they'll be a lot smarter than that. I really do. I think Parag, when he made those notes, he would have made note of that, saying, he's been bad most of the season. In fact, he's been pretty poor, but he's had two games and you've activated a year. Yeah, I won't be doing that. I hope that is what he's saying. Oh man. But yeah, man, it feels good, man. It feels real good. Let me just see if there's any other notes. Mm, nah, no, not really anything else. If there's anything else, people, just stick it in the comments. Or if you haven't seen the interview, like I say, go to the Leeds United official channel. It is on there. It's worth watching. Uh yeah, Gavin. Yeah, this is another thing as well. One thing that has impressed Gavin is that all the players and backroom staff have come out the blue, and we're not linked with them. Yeah, it just shows, doesn't it? With all due respect to the reporters that have tried putting names to Leeds United, it just shows how little people know about the operations. Now, it will only get leaked, obviously, if the selling club has got a local reporter that gets wind of the news, and then we'll filter it back. And that does happen. That's how Phil Hay would have got some of the names. But that is the only way it's going to happen. Listen, the Ampadu one, it came out of the blue, didn't it? No one had that. It got released by, I think it was Nizar. I think that's his name. I don't want to Kinsella. And that's what happens. It just come out of the blue, and now we're going to sign him. It's probably done today in reality, but I think they're probably waiting for tomorrow, probably to get the signing video and everything done, and then we'll move on to our next target. Uh, let's have a look. Jive in the house. Hey, KJ, just seen you live. It's very good news today, buzzing. Yeah, it's wonderful news, man. It's been a good couple of days. I can't lie. It feels so much more. It seems like the fog's clearing for me. It feels like the fog is starting to clear, and we've got a new vision. We've got a direction that we're going to go in. It feels good now. Whereas 2 days before, I was worried about this club. I was worried if we were not even going to be competing for top six this season with the shape that the squad's in. As good as some of the talented players are, this is not a complete squad. It's not even close. So now we've got the 49ers, now we've got the approval. Let's see what we bring in now. I'm excited because Ampadu, if that's a start, I'm looking forward to see the next one. um, yeah, Stuart saying KG Nonto wants out. I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does want to go, and I don't blame him for going. He can easily play at a higher level than the championship, quite easily as well. But this is on the 49ers. This is what Parag was talking about in trying to keep some of our better players. He's going to try. And if he can do it, he will. And the plan at the moment, from the last thing that we heard, is that they want Willie Nanto to stay. And that 50 million is certainly not going to cut it, which again, music to my ears, because unfortunately, I think we would have probably accepted that before. Or probably said, actually, you don't need to pay 15, give us 10 instead. That's how bad we've been at business, really and truly. Um, Oh yeah, I'm not going to put that up by Diggler, but yeah, Robles, not putting that up, Diggler, but yeah, Robles. If anyone knows, he did give a goodbye message on social media. I haven't got it to hand there, but he's signed over in Saudi Arabia now, so he's another one that's gone over there and got themselves a check. And that's another thing as well in terms of that. Ruben Neves recently came out and he had an interview and he said, "My family are my trophies." My family are my trophies, and that is why I've made the move here to make my family secure. And I think that that's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of football fans who still believe that you want to play in the best leagues or play for the top clubs or anything else like that. I, I I can only tell you from firsthand experience that players, some of them are driven by success 100%, but some just want to get as much money as they can and get out. Some of them don't even want to hear, "Are you going to be a coach in the game?" They're not interested. They want to make as much money as possible. And if they're getting these moves to Saudi and Qatar and as well, like Rodrigo, they're going to take them, people. If they haven't got any like firm roots here, as if like their family doesn't want to move or something like else like that, they don't want to adjust to the lifestyle, then they'll stay. But if they're looking for life changing money, even though they're probably already multimillionaires now, this is generational wealth you're probably talking, then yeah, they're gonna make the move, people. Has he gone to yeah, Saudi second division club? Yeah, and yeah, listen, Lewis, he did have some accountability in his exit poll. You know what? I should have got it up in it. Let me see. You know what? Let me not do that to Joel, because even I wished him the best, man. He tried, didn't he? He tried. Um, let's have a look. Let me see. Uh, here we go. What have I done? Get out of here. Here we are. Okay. All right. Here we are. Joel Robles. Here we are. Yeah. Here he is. The time has come to say goodbye. It's never easy to leave a club that has treated me so well and where I've enjoyed the Premier League again. I want to thank all my teammates, staff, board, and fans for the way you've made me feel since day one. I felt truly at home. I leave with the bitter taste of not managed to keep the team in the Premier League for another year, but I'm convinced this year that Leeds and its wonderful fans will return to the place they deserve. There it is. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Accountability right here. Yeah. That's all you asked for. And that's cool. That's good, with Joel Robles. Again, the words, they don't mean anything to us now. It's happened, but on his end as well, I'll say that he should have come in earlier as well. But you had that Javi Gracia, man. I would have still played him. Oh, this guy, what an absolute wet wipe. Nah, man. Javi Gracia. I never want to see that guy again. Never want to see that guy again. Yeah, Paul Gray should have been given a chance a lot earlier, in my opinion. Oh, easily. And you just wonder, don't you, in some of those games where the ball was just going off Melier's wrist and in, or Seamus Coleman, where he scores an open goal in a high pressure game. You just wonder if he would just got dropped for a couple games. That's why you got an experienced goalkeeper in, but it goes to the point of the fabric of the football club. It wasn't strong enough, weak, just meek leadership all round, just poor. And that is why he was never going to get dropped, obviously, until Big Sam come in. And I do think he should have been in a long before that, easily. Um, Gavin here saying, could we keep Elian? I know he made mistakes last season, but I got to be. Oh, but it's got to be hard on a young keeper who has a defense that can't defend or even do the basics right. Yeah, Gavin. Listen, I will never absolve the defense of the shambolic job that they did in front of him. I will never do that to him. But at the same time, Gavin, how many instances did we see where we were in control of a game for 20 minutes? The first opportunity that the opposition got, they'd score a goal. It happened 14 times. It's either 13 or 14 times in the league. That's too many, Gavin. Not We are not Man City where we can do that and then come back and beat them 4-1. We had to claw for every. It seemed like for every goal we scored, we had to work so hard for them, and it just made it harder for us. You saw as well the body language as soon as the goals go in, everyone's shoulders dropped, and it's like we were down, we were dead and buried. You know what I mean? And he could have helped us a lot more. And I called this early, even before like the mistakes were coming so obvious. I called it early. I said, could he have done better with that shot? Could he have done better? Was his positioning okay there? There was even shots where it would go in the near post, and he was moving over to the near post, and it would still go in, Gavin. Those kind of things, that's goalkeeping error. That's goalkeeping errors. The basics that Melier should have been doing was shot stopping. And it seemed like whenever there's a crowd of players in front of him, he'd have trouble. He was not getting his positioning right, or players blocked his view and he couldn't get enough on the ball. And for me, that's just not good enough. You know, people saying that the Everton goal, yeah, the Coleman one. I mean, that's a disgrace, Gavin. You probably won't see that kind of goal in the Prem again. It's going to be very rare to see a goal like Seamus Coleman versus Melier again. It's a disgrace. So for me, I think with Leeds, the latest report is that they still want him to go. It's probably going to be good for a fresh start for him, a fresh change of scenery. I agree with that because again, I don't think he's a bad goalkeeper. I don't. I just think along with him, Pascal, I think they need to do their development elsewhere. Um, Ed, what up, KG? We got the best goalie in the world, and you've got Melier. Listen, I told you already, Ed. I like the Anana signing. You've got a lot of your rivals jealous too. I think he's going to be brilliant for you. But listen, we'll see. We'll see who we get in. It won't be Anana, but we'll see who we get in next. And that's it as well, Vega. Listen, Melier never catches it. How tiny are his hands? He's got big hands, Vega. I mean, I've seen him up close. Wait, that sounds wrong, doesn't it? But I've seen him up close. His hands are massive. But that's another thing. He wasn't a commanding goalkeeper. He was not a commanding one. He would hardly ever claim crosses. He would either like flap at them or meekly punch them away. There's just too many holes in his game, especially when your defense is as crap as ours. And he could have given us more of a chance. He really could have. Um, Leeds United, John. Shout out to you, John. I feel familiar because he's young and should never have been put in a position of a Premier League keeper. I disagree with that, John. I don't think age has got anything to do with it because Joe Hart handled it very well, didn't he? He handled it very well. This was before Man City were a juggernaut. He was very good. Even you could even say our own Paul Robinson was good. He was good enough at certain levels. He went on to have a pretty good career. I don't think it's a question of just being young. It's the fact as well. Let's go with the goalkeeping coach as well, Mr. Abad. I just think it was a terrible mix of everything. And in the end, he regressed. He didn't get better. He's got over 100 Premier League appearances. He's experienced, people, but it didn't get better, did it? It got worse. Um, yeah, listen, Ed, go away, man. Ed, I need to get back in that league, man. We need to give Man United better games, man. We didn't give a good account of ourselves this time around. Um, but yeah. So yeah, that's it. Listen, we've got to see with Melier. We've got to see where he's going to end up. We don't know where he's going to end up. Haven't again still today, 18th of July. Don't know if he's even linked with another club, but I guess we won't know until somebody comes out. Maybe Fabrizio will say. I don't know. Let me just see if there's anything else just before we leave. Just see if there's any more news. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any announcements today, unless they announce a sign at 10 o'clock again. These guys just run on their own times. But yeah, I don't think there's going to be anything else. So if there's anything else, I think that will be it for this stream, people. Please drop your thoughts in below about Parag's comments. Anything that you liked, anything you disliked, anything about Radrizzani or anything along those lines that's been discussed today. Put them in the comments. Hit the like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Nicholas. KG, you look good today, nice and clean shaven. I was hoping to be clean shaven for the actual takeover, but they announced at 10:15 here, and I wasn't ready. So I'm clean shaven today. It's all good. It's all good. I look good anyway, man. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Anyway, listen out. Peace out, people. If you have a good night, morning, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Peace.